He's taking things slower and surrendering to the universe, to higher self, surrendering to spirit, God, source, inner self, however you like to say that word or associate with that higher intelligence that's connected to all that is, you know. But the real the real aspect of, our spiritual growth, is learning how to balance off action and surrendering to, our higher self. Like, basically, that reprogramming our subconscious and mastering how to allow for our higher self to take care of us and allow for us to, flow with the river instead of always trying to paddle upstream with our mind, with our egoic mind, because we got this subconscious programming of, no, that, it takes hard work and, it takes strenuous this and years of perseverance and this and that. Now, of course, again, the spiritual growth may have its difficulties, but it's not the aspect, like, say, for instance, it's difficult to master this balance of, balancing these energies out, but not like, oh, well, it takes this and that. Like, nah, just takes practice, just getting in the habitual nature of, being more healthier, on a spiritual level. But again, sometimes we tend to forget how much, like when we get into these ideas of like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm this type of business, I'm that type of business, and we go to trying to micromanage and control from a physical human aspect. And when we're doing that, we're, making ourselves work hard and blocking, that higher self or source from, bringing it to us with ease. Now, of course, the person who takes their time and let things come to them, like, say, for instance, both people could get to the same place in essence, as far as like accomplishing what they want. Like, you can go about it in a disconnected way and feel like you gotta, instead of being inspired, you could push yourself and motivate yourself, and and do things even when you don't feel like doing it, and still in essence, achieve what what you was looking for in essence. But again, it's a way more easier aspect to surrender. And again, don't think of surrender as yeah, I just turn the other cheek to action or this and that, 'cause that's all surrender. I ain't surrendering to this and that. And it's like, surrender to your higher. It's not like you're surrendering to, anything. You're surrendering to your higher self. Something, you're surrendering to something that is way more extremely intelligent from the aspect of the way you're looking at things. So it's like, why not surrender to that? And I know for me, like, say for instance, surrendering in the aspect. As a matter of fact, right now is to also pay attention to what areas do we need to surrender in. Because some of us, again, with that energy of like trying to overwork, or I gotta make sure I'm doing something every second on the second to, you know, to be an entrepreneur, to be working. I gotta, if my hands ain't dirty or my hands ain't rough, I ain't working. Matter of fact, and as I tell people, that's that, especially out here being Louisiana, I'm like, that's that old Louisiana slave mentality vibe. Like, oh, you ain't working out there in the field, you ain't no man. Like, nah. I mean, my partner was talking about that. As long as you capable of doing what you got to do as a man, you know what I'm saying. That's the aspect. You don't have, or let me go rough up my hands so I could appear to be a man to other people. I mean, then there you go with, not being your genuine self, worrying about being a certain way for what somebody else think about you. But anyway, we go to micromanaging with our mind, and that's another thing. Like, everything is meant to flow to us with ease. Like, the only difficulty in our spiritual growth is just learning how to line up with letting things come to us with ease. Like that's the difficult part. But again, it, it's life is not about things being difficult. You know, in that manner. I'm trying to line up where the sun don't get all in the video. But it's that state of allowance. Because matter of fact, or like the example of the cork floating in the water. The little thing bobbling in the water. Floating. On top of the water. But then when we go to being in our mind and micromanaging, we taking that little cork or that little buoy, that little float, and pushing it underwater and stopping it from, floating and going where it gotta go. We keeping it in one spot under the water, by being in our thoughts about things, Because in most cases, your thoughts is gonna be false evidence appearing real, or going off of something that happened in the past, and we are continuously growing. So our past is not a good reference point when we becoming, manifest. When we stepping more into being the, more deliberate in the, manifestation of our reality. Dang, I forgot what I was about to. But anyway, it's about us knowing that it is our divine right. It is a divine right to prosper. It's your divine right to live a blissful life in every second. That's what you here for, to, because of course we talk these. And matter of fact, I'm gonna tell you like this. Reason why we do talk about like, well, you're down here to learn these lessons and stuff like this, which we are learning, and things of this nature. But it's also, and I say also, we learning indirectly as we're trying to line up with the blissful lives that we should be living. But that's the thing. It's like living and being blissful at all times, like following impulses of bliss. And in your moment, if your now is, following impulses of bliss, then you're going to create more moments of being in your now and create more moments of bliss and happiness. And again, your now is constantly, recreated, just like a game, like a video game, until we, learn how to surrender to something. It's gonna continuously plague us, until we learn how to, surrender. Again, allowing our higher self to be the, the guidance system. You're not like, oh, I'll just surrender everything. Again, it's it's allowing for the universe to, our higher self to take us where we want to go, because it been keeping a collection of all our thoughts, or should I say all the things we love and desire since before our soul even came down here in incarnation. But for sure, as far, and I say it like that, but as far as like getting ready to come down here and incarnate, our higher self, when we was again closer and connected with it, we at that moment knowing like, all right, yeah, this is what I want to experience when I get down there. And as we get down here, ever since a little kid, we've been, a child, we've been, putting into our vortex all the things that we love, and the universe is constantly trying to give us hints to go in the direction that's going to line us up with giving it to us the easiest. But because, we've been taught, oh, no, it's hard. Like, it can't be that easy. And matter of fact, I done spoke to that before, where like you'll start to line up, with synchronicity and manifestations, so much. You just kind of catch a bull corner, but like it's not really a nervous breakdown, but it's like you catch a nervous breakdown of what, like, oh no, like things is just too flowing good, it's like too, like that's what it should be, of course we're gonna have small, you know, little moments of contrast, but not enough to where it just occupies our whole experience, you know. So of course, yeah, we're gonna have like, you know, little moments, but again, we're constantly growing, so yeah, you're gonna have little moments that's a test, but it's gonna be on different levels as we continuously grow, you know. And then as you know, again, the test on level 1 not the same on level 9 or level 100, you know. It's all, you know, different levels. But right now, it's very important about us, you know, surrendering to higher self. And matter of fact, full moon and Taurus coming, you know, dealing with our self-worth, loving ourselves, you know, taking care of ourselves, pampering ourselves, you know. Matter of fact, and that's on all levels, mind, body, and soul, taking care of yourself, you know. And again, what areas that we need to surrender in? For me, is you know, I fell out of the place. Oh, what? I'm I'm in alignment and becoming more and more in alignment with surrendering, you know, to financial, surrendering in financial situations, you know. Because here it is, where it's like, whenever I monkey mind, like, all right, I gotta, you know, in order to, because again, just look at it. In order to manifest this, I gotta do this. I gotta have this business card. I gotta do this. I gotta go here. Compared to where when you had that knowing of like, man, millions, like money could come to me as I'm sleeping. Money could come. You know, that's why I saying affirmations and always beating these type of things in our brain, or you know, putting these things in our type of brain. Putting these type of things in our brain is so important, you know. Like a knowing, like, you know, I am abundance, I am prosperity, you know. But again, knowing it to such a point where you can surrender to the universe and not feel like I gotta micromanage every moment to manifest. Because, you know, again, the moments that I've received some of my biggest donations, some of the bracelet sales that got me the most money, was in moments when I wasn't even thinking about money. Like I wasn't even like, you know. And one would say, well, wait, how could you manifest the money if you wasn't thinking about it? Because my egoic mind wasn't constantly thinking about it. That rocket of desire was launched, you know, in my subconscious, and it was locked in on my subconscious. So I didn't have to constantly be, you know, consciously thinking of it. Because matter of fact, when you constantly consciously thinking of it, you're blocking your subconscious from actually, you know, allowing things to, you know, make things happen, you know. So it's the moments when I wasn't caring about money, wasn't paying attention. Matter of fact, this video I'm gonna show, I don't know, it may come before this video or not, but where I left my battery pack, like the battery pack that I charged my phone with. I left it in the Union by LSU, and, you know, and again, back to surrendering to the universe. So had it in there, and when I noticed I forgot, I'm like, shit. And at first, you know, wasn't fully negative, but I did kind of have a vibe where, you know, possibly somebody done got it already. So I just, you know, again, but I had that mode of surrender, like, well, you know what, whatever happened is meant to happen. I surrender to what is, you know. I mean, you know, another one to come about or whatever, but, you know, I surrender to this moment. You know, and as I surrendered, you know, in essence, again, you see how the nature of, like, by me falling back off of worrying about that charger, you know, actually, you know, brought it into manifestation. Because here it is where I was just like, you know what, oh well. And then come 2 days later, something just told me to go walk in the Union. And then when I walk in the Union, my charger's still left. You know, showing me that, you know, how much when, you know, you just surrender, you just allow for, you know, put it in higher self hands, how much, you know, it brings us to what we really want and looking for. Again, because when we over harping with our thoughts and affirmations, then we get to a point of blocking it, you know. Cause, and matter of fact, cause a lot of times too, we harping on affirmations and thoughts because we feeling like it won't manifest. So sometimes our thoughts and affirmations come from a fearful place, like, I fear going with the flow of the universe. I don't trust the universe, so let me sit down here and say a million affirmations and a million. And again, of course, affirmations have their benefits and stuff like that, but it's what the intention is. Are you doing it out of fear? Are you doing it, because, hey, this is just, the positive part of my routine, and I'm just doing it on that level, you know what I'm saying? But it's what your intention. Because our being feels all of our intent, 100% of it. So if we doing something just with the smallest amount of fear, then that's where it's coming from. No matter how small the amount, it's still going to be felt, But again, right now, it's just important to realize that our experience is meant to be blissful at all times and, enjoying ourselves at all times. And what really stops that is, these old traditional thoughts, like, oh, it's hard work, or, because I saw my people go through slavery, it got to take, going through something. And again, so while I'm saying that, how we always speak on, you hear me speak on pressure make a diamond. Yes, like the pressure of, say for instance, of certain areas of our growth is what makes a diamond, but we're not looking to forcefully manufacture that pressure. It's like certain pressures just gonna come along, and it's about us leveling up and passing that, that test in essence. But it's not about like forcefully, putting ourselves through pressure again. Surrendering, leaving the thoughts, because that all that wanting to micromanage and be hands-on, and I gotta do this and I gotta do that, you know. That's the egoic mind. In fact, the egoic mind getting scared that you're gonna actually find out what's really real. That egoic mind, like, oh no. And think about just like how, like, oh no, I can't let this person, they getting too close to sniffing this out. I gotta throw a strong curveball, And so the ego gotta do its best vibe of going along with your spirituality, just so it could, stop you from fully surrendering from, to your higher self. So the egoic mind will disguise itself as, all right, I'm gonna work on my business, I'm gonna work on myself spiritually, this and that. But it's, again, it turns into a place where we micromanaging and feeling like the universe or higher self won't take care of us. And again, it's a growth. We're gonna go through the stages of having to constantly learn that lesson in essence, and to each his own on how fast we all get, the lessons. But again, you'll see where there's certain situations where you're trying to, manage it. Like a lot of us, like, say for instance, why we always like the contrast of like I want to protect my energy. I always want to be by myself. But you also want to, indirectly, that reason why being by yourself becomes depressing, because, you're micromanaging your spirituality. You're not, you're trying to hide and micromanage, so you're trying to hide from people instead of just kind of allowing for life to kind of be more of a flow, like that's the, surrender. In the state of allowance, the state of, what they call receptive mode, being in a vibration where you could just, you just feel yourself, having what it is that you want. And again, healthy diet, meditation to help clear, the vibration, so you could get more in tune with higher self and be able to, not feel so scared to follow your higher self. But the Hawkeye, Horus, is always in the sky, overlooking. So again, and this, of course, we come from a place of being, taught and being indoctrinated into an idea of not trusting the universe, of actually we've been indoctrinated to be scared of our higher self. Like fear God, ha ha ha, you should fear me. Like that's the whole vibe they, creating. So that's programming your subconscious. So and again, the science of the subconscious and the way it works, it's no chance. It's like, oh, well, no, it just happened. Like, nah, our subconscious is really running the show. Like, it's not just people just saying that our subconscious rules 90% of what we do. And this is what we've been studying and knowing this since ancient times. That again, and we've been knowing this in ancient times, and then as the European brethren and sisters that's trying to oppress, oppress things, they got a hold to that information and start doing their own thing, like a H.P. Lovecraft that started speaking on the aspects of the subconscious and our higher self as monsters, the great old ones that's scary and coming back to get us, you know what I'm saying? And which laid the blueprint later for, horror movies and just that subconscious program of trying to scare people from their higher self or the deepness of the subconscious, and that creates, shadows, more spiritual work to do. But that's basically it. Just want to share on how important it is to surrender. Again, we are meant to live blissful lives. Every moment should be blissful. Every moment we should be guided by our higher self, and we're moving again. Reason why it seems so hard, because we're coming from a place of being, brainwashed and being in a fallen place. So that's why it seems so difficult. Like, oh, I don't know, universal. I tried that shit and it seemed like, well, yeah, because you probably just tried it, one time and it ain't keep working on it, or, not fully understanding the concept of it as you're working on it. But again, it's meant for us to be blissful. And of course, we will take physical action, but it's inspired action. It's through sitting there and waiting for your higher self to inform you, what's next. And I got a video that recently spoke to impulses, following impulses. Peace. Happy now. Now is the vibrate, of course. Not going too far in the future. Not going too far in the past. Right now.